a question was asked at our town board meeting about what letter the developer has received from the state of New York, and what actually was received on Thursday of last week. The developer was served with a letter from the Department of Public Service citing all of the deficiencies in their Article 10 application. It was a 21-page letter, cited numerous deficiencies. All of those deficiencies will have to be cured, and what that deficiency letter meant was that they hadn't even met the minimum requirements of what's spelled out in the regulations. Just a complete wholesale decision by the developer to ignore the minimum requirements of the regulations, and they will have to come into compliance. Once they come into compliance and they put in a complete application, and it's deemed complete by the state of New York, a 1-year time limit begins that the siting board has to issue a decision on a certificate of public need and compatibility. And so that's what the developer here is in the rush for, is to try to get that 1 year moving so that they pressure the siting board into issuing a decision.
For the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everybody for coming. First thing I wanted to say is right now we're, as I mentioned, we're a little bit over capacity. I want to point out the exits because our limit's 50. We're a little bit above that. So. Anything else, Rich?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, I'd like to this time move on to public comment. We moved the public comment earlier in the meeting. This is where it's going to stay. I had one email for someone who wanted to be on the agenda. It was Mark Heberling. And so I'd like to give him first opportunity. Donna Vickman also called Bridget and asked her to speak, but wanted to speak at the end of the meeting. But we're doing it now. I hope that's okay, Donna.
Well,
So you'll be second to speak?
no,
You
I
withdraw?
I guess I withdraw, but I still have something that I need to say at the end of the meeting. It's-
Well, okay, well,
it's-
we'll try to remember. I'll try to write that down so we don't forget to. Okay, Mark, I'll give you the floor.
Okay, so nobody from Invenergy's could speak tonight then?
I had no requests.
Okay. I want to thank the board for letting me speak. I'm Mark Heberling. You know me as the president of Farmersville United. We represent the concerns of hundreds of residents and property owners. But I'm more than that. I'm your neighbor. I live right here in Farmersville, not like Big Wind. I'm a president of a 501c3 horse rescue. I also own a farm right here in Farmersville, where 10 Farmersville families support our farm activities. By the way, Big Wind doesn't show any jobs coming to Farmersville. This year, due to the farm's CSA, an establishment of produce corridor to the restaurants in the city of Buffalo, we contributed to the local economy here in Farmersville. You may ask, why am I telling you this? I believe Farmersville is a community where neighbors help each other and support each other. Big Wind likes to imply that they're good neighbors. Well, action speaks louder than words. And talk is cheap, but not all talk. Keep this in mind next time Big Wind lawyer lectures us and calls our community names. He gets paid to drive down here from his luxury Buffalo waterfront condo in his expensive European SUV at a tune of $500 an hour. So every month, Invenergy pays him $2,000 to scold us and tell us what's best for us. So this past Christmas Eve, during the ice and cold, snowy conditions, while the big city lawyer is drinking his 10-year-old scotch and eating a turkey leg 50 miles away, my wife and I are out delivering a laundry basket full of fruit and gifts for the needy families right here in Farmersville. Big Wind doesn't care about our Farmersville community or helping his residents. only making money and lining their pockets with it. They prove this over and over. Ever wonder why they only rent a small area and a storefront as an office? Does that show they care about our community? Why did they recently open an office in central New York and not here where they want a $500 million project? Because they don't care. Heck, I guess 1 month's rent at their Chicago office could buy any home here. I spent well over 150 hours reviewing their application in the Article 10 proceeding. I would like to know, since our last board meeting last month, when Ginger asked who had read the application, and none of you have. Has anybody done so yet?
Well, a lot of it.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's huge.
It is huge. Mark,
What-
you almost one more?
Yeah, hold on. What's really telling is what's not in it. They have numerous sections that are redacted because they state they're afraid of competitors, knowing their secrets and presenting competition where competition cuts profits and drives off costs. I say maybe we should invite competitors here to see if we can get a better deal, one that they aren't offering. Maybe we can find a developer who will be able to develop a project that fits in with the new wind law, and we should be passing one which protects the health and safety of the residents. We want 3,000-foot setbacks from property lines, no more than 40 dB lines, and 450-foot height limits. On Thursday, a letter came back from the New York State Public Service Commission regarding this application. This extensive 21-page letter is filled with Invenergy's deficiencies. This billion-dollar company did not care about making a good effort on its application for this project. What it's really saying is that Invenergy doesn't care about Farmersville community, the deficiencies. It calls out how the public outreach and involvement, I guess having a party just for leaseholders doesn't count as actual outreach. There's a large section that discusses noise and vibration and notes the fact that it didn't address sound pressures, low frequency noise, infrasounds. Their methods and sound models were incorrect, deficiencies according to New York State. Further, their turbine modeling did not include the highest sound power levels, and it only used models that would produce the best results for them, not others under the consideration of the project. Again, misleading by omission. Kind of makes you wonder if that is what they're trying to sneak by Article 10 experts, what are they telling you or not telling you? In a deficiency letter, they are criticized for not even considering direct drive quieter gearboxes. That's real caring for you. They also failed to adequately address seismology and earthquake concerns. Here's a telling statement from page 19 of the letter. The statement, no, hold on. You give them all kinds of time. Just give me one more minute.
Okay, it's been 5 minutes. Please wrap it up, please.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you.
All right. So at the end, please represent all the residents in adopting 3,000-foot setbacks, property lines, no more than a dB property lines of 450 feet limits. You should listen to the County Planning Board who rejected your law and kept the height 450 limit. Last, I know Rob, at least one of Invenergy's t-shirts, and you like to push the envelope with what's ethical and accepting free things from developers such as Invenergy and Christmas party dinners. However, it does not present a conflict to accept a t-shirt from your constituents. So here is a copy of the deficiency letter I spoke of and t-shirts for your support of our collective request so you might be able and reminded of what we're seeking.
I was wondering where my shirt was.
It's right here. The bug is actually on the table.
Okay, thank you.
Here's a shirt for you.
Sorry, I think you wanted it. There should be a size. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Okay, now I'm open the floor. Is there any more Comment?
I have a question.
Okay.
Do leaseholders sign anything saying they're not allowed to talk about anything possibly negative about the project?
There might be agreement in their lease, there may be that they'll agree to participate and not say negative things. Again, that's a private document, an individual document, they're entitled to sign.
So is Mr. Westfall recused now, or is he still?
He's on
part of the-
he's on vacation right now, but he has.
Because if he can't talk about it.
As I indicated to you, if you give me a second, I don't believe he's going to vote on the law. That's what he's indicated to us.
Okay. Hey, anybody else? I think Mark did a good job. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Albert Brown.
Albert Brown.
I live just past the Farmersville line, but I lived in Farmersville a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just say to the board that right from the beginning, I've been coming right from the beginning, and there's just been an enormous opposition to this project from day one, and I would just exhort the board to listen to your constituency. The majority of the people have spoken so clearly for so long. They've been so polite. They've come out in droves. I'm sure you're not used to having this kind of participation in your monthly meetings. So there's really no rush on this, and I think Mark's. I second what Mark says. You should really look at other developers or other possibilities, because if this company's trying to shove this gigantic 600-foot project down your throats and they're not giving you alternatives, then there's nothing tying you to this company, and like he said, they're going to come in here, boom and bust. They're going to build their thing, make their profits, and then they're out. And it's never going to be a long-term marriage with your town. The people in your town are the ones who got your back, and you should think about that long and hard before you make this decision.
Oh, we're definitely thinking hard. One thing I'd like to bring up, I'm sorry, go ahead, you're first.
Well, if you're going to comment on that, go ahead.
No, that's just a comment overall.
Okay.
The only thing I'm worried about right now is if we don't pass the law, New York State's going to come in and Article 10, they're going to end up putting the windmills up anyway, and we're going to lose our host agreement.
They have to prove that your law is unfair.
Well, we
And
don't
it's
even
hard
have
to
a
do.
law.
It's really hard to do.
Currently have a law,
It's not passed yet, though. I mean, it's.
have a law in place.
2009 is what she speaks.
Oh, okay, I got you.
2009.
But right now, we're working on a host agreement. I mean, we're trying to get that, as best we can. Like I told you guys a long time ago, we still have time to work on that host agreement. And I didn't really feel that you believed us, but we're trying to work out that. I mean, I'm just afraid the state's gonna come in and say, hey, windmills are going in,
Maybe we should
Maybe
be
he'll-
changing the state.
Maybe he'll be
to
in
follow
More
up.
faith in the opposition.
Okay, one at a
It's-
time, please.
Just to follow up, it's better to make a decision based on your constituency than on your fear. And I understand what you're saying, and I understand eminent domain. I understand all of that. But I've fought a bunch of environmental battles before, and I've seen eminent domain defeated in court before. So just stand in your values, and you won't have to worry about what some big corporation or the state does. I've seen federal government defeated in court before. So
Sure.
you if you stand on what you believe and you got the backing of your people. Now, if you go out on your own as a vanguard by yourself without the backing of your people, then you're really weak. But if you got the backing of your people, that's as strong as it gets. That's as strong as your case is ever going to get.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Okay. Did they ever straighten out the refugally about the numbers? Who was for, how many against, and how many undecided?
Oh, that was presented.
Are you speaking about
The vote, the cards.
the survey?
Yeah, I think it was said that they added against, they added the undecided.
No, I don't
No,
think
no.
so. We reported it as accurately as it was.
Really?
It was in the
Yes.
last meeting.
I don't know. Okay.
Sure.
Just one thing to add to Mr. Brown's statement there.
Your name, sir?
David Putney.
Okay.
When the board members, when you guys were elected officials, you guys were elected due to a majority from this town, correct?
That's right.
All right, so the majority of this town is against the windmills. Don't you think if you're representing everybody in this town, you should vote accordingly?
Well, I think we have to do what's best for the town. That's my opinion. And,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was voting for. I thought was to do what I thought best for the town. And that's what I'm leaning.
The people are the town.
So,
Without the people, you have no town.
Well, okay.
Majority is the town, I don't.
so do the proper setbacks, noise levels.
Kathy?
My question is, what procedure is there that the state can usurp your power to have an agreement or get benefits? What is it about the Article 10 that says they can just ignore you?
Well, there's a copy of it out in the hallway, but it's a whole pretty big deal we got.
Well,
You know,
what-
I read it, but.
What does it say in there that?
Well, I just don't want them to come in and set the windows and say, hey, we need this green.
I don't think they can. I think they have to go through the process, but if you have a law,
They don't have to abide by our law, ma'am.
They don't have to know.
well, I understand that they can
So
overrule
what
it.
more can you say that they don't need to abide by our law? Obviously, they'll take knowledge of it. They'll acknowledge that's there. But Article 10, that these judges, this administrative panel will cite these.
Maybe
They
he'll
have
be in
other
Gitmo by then.
issues besides your law.
What's that?
They have to look at other things besides the law.
Correct. Correct. They're gonna have to look at the environmental
Unless
impact.
they've already decided.
We're not one of, it's not gonna be decided in this room.
And depending on what we put in the law, if they say it's not, if it's unfair or whatever, I'm not using the right word, but,
If it's unfair to Invenergy or something.
no, if it's, too restrictive,
Right,
then they can override it
right.
too. So, I
I've
mean,
seen,
that's,
I'm sorry. I seem to get a picture though where your utilities right now are kind of governed as to what they can make. They can make a certain percentage, right? Well, they're shutting down all the coal and everything. And now they've got these things which are investors. There's no price limit on that. And everywhere these things have gone, the bigger they've gotten, the electric rates have gone way up. And we don't need it. We don't need this. They're trying to get around the caps.
I just don't think it's right to, I think if we, Tim Jones, if we say that we're gonna accept them, then it will put our name out there to New York State saying that we're for them. And I think that we have a majority here that's really not happy with the situation whatsoever. And by us having a little more free access to them shows saying that we want them and we don't. So, been here a long time, paid my taxes, never complained about a dollar I've paid in, but this is not right whatsoever.
Can I ask one question?
yes.
Mark, in your address, you mentioned a CSA. I thought it was the
Community Sustained
acronym.
Agriculture.
Say that again?
Community Sustained Agriculture.
Thank you.
Ginger.
I think that you probably should do your very best to get the best education you can on the Article 10 process. I mean, I've been working, it's not my area of expertise, as you know, but I've been working very hard, like Mark, hundreds of hours spent learning this area of law, and of course, hiring an expert, Gary Abraham, in this area to help us. And my sense is that your fears are somewhat unfounded, that as long as our law is reasonable, and that the commissioner has gone on record in saying that he is not shoving these projects down unwanting communities, that he is not interested in setting aside, giving these large developers, giving them the ability to ask for waivers. Has it occurred to you why Invenergy is so nervous? Why they come here every single meeting? Why they're attempting to get you to pass the law that they want that's like everyone else? Because they know that our current law will be upheld at 450 feet, and they don't want that. That's the problem. So I think you should get with your attorney and really get a good education on what Article 10 is all about, and not be so worried about them setting aside our law. Because I think what we're asking for is reasonable.
I do know one thing, Invenergy's out there working, they're moving forward. I don't know if you've seen them out there.
Sure you have.
So I mean, I don't think they'd be doing that if it wasn't gonna go.
It's
you know?
not a foregone conclusion, Robin. The fact that you think that is a real problem. It is a real problem. Because it's not.
I have a question for Dave real quick. Part of them being out there, you mean marking wetlands that I can no longer drive my four-wheeler through?
I don't know if
Is that
they're
what
marking
the
or
DEC
drilling or.
Because it's brought the DEC into our areas, and they're now marking wetlands that will, if you drive around our town, and see the little flags written on everything. You're not to enter those properties. So thanks for bringing that in here too already.
So we keep getting, you hear the threat of if we pass a good, good law, good setbacks, good noise, and New York State overrules it, we get them anyways, that we lose the host community. I don't think that's true.
Never said that.
So that's not true.
I did say that.
Plus, he's not.
We have a host community agreement in our 2009 law. We do. So that's
Okay,
it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
All I'm saying is, you've also forgotten about the county, who asked the IDA to fully tax this project.
Right.
If in fact the IDA listens to the county, and they've never shown an interest in going beyond what the legislators have asked for, this project will be fully taxed, and it won't happen. Or if it does happen, there's not going to be enough money to give you guys any money under the host agreement, because their $8,000 budget per megawatt is going to be completely consumed by property taxes.
So I'd like to speak.
Now you want
No,
to
I will.
Is that what you wanted at the end? I can cross that off, or you still want to talk?
No.
Okay.
Ginger's right, and that is my, it's not my only interest in this, but as the county legislator, I certainly did support, I was part of the resolution that the IDA does not support the pilot program for renewable energy. But also, I think we need to remember that county-wise, the planning board certainly did their homework. And when they read that, our comprehensive plan, that is, boy, there's been a lot of work that went into that comprehensive plan. And they decided that that isn't what we want, that we want to have this remain a rural community and so on, and we don't need big wind or anything like that. And I think we have to remember, too, we have neighbors. We have Franklinville as neighbors. And they have sent a resolution to the legislature, and I think to your board here, requesting that you do not support this wind project. So, as a county rep, that's my,
Okay. Thank
how
you,
I
Don.
feel about the.
Oh, we're gonna have to wrap this up here pretty soon here.
Remember when the dump was going in here and Mr. Heighter was advertising jobs at the dump before it was even approved? It never got approved, but he was out there making it look like this is a done deal, don't bother coming. And a lot of people didn't come, but he was advertising, he was hiring guys. It never went in. It was just a choice. I think everybody think it's a done deal, don't come to the meeting somewhere. It didn't work, it still didn't work. Thank God.
Somebody else?
I'm Doug Thompson. I live on Elmore Hill Road here. My grandparents owned the farm up there for back in the early 80s and that. They're against a lot of this stuff. My big thing is we've seen in the last 10 years all this stuff, the Solyndra, everything. Look at the up in Buffalo. They put all their tax money into that. That's failing. I mean, it just keeps going on. People. You guys should know what you're talking about up here, and you didn't even read the whole thing yet. And I think that's your job and your position, that you guys should know what's going on.
I don't know if you've seen
But
it.
another thing too is, I have a problem with, you got conflicting interest in this. There shouldn't be an argument whether or not that it should be straightened out right now before any of this continues. It shouldn't be figured out afterwards. It should be right up front. Right now, that we know where you stand, because you can't give the direct answers you should be giving. And that's my main thing. I mean, you see it all the way up from Washington, New York State, to county, everything. People try and pull a lot of stuff on people. And this is the first time I've come to this, and you guys don't, I'm not hearing the answers that you should be knowing.
Okay, I think we're going.
Doug?
Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for your comment, and I want to thank everybody for being nice, calm, cool, collective. This has been like this all along, and I appreciate that. There's been no major problems, and I thank you for it.
No mob rule?
I'm sorry?
No mob rule, Rob?
Yeah. Nobody got no black eyes or anything yet, but I do appreciate the calmness, and everybody hopefully got a chance to speak, but we need to move on. And, you know, we got more comments, please forward them. Appreciate it.
Can I ask when you're going to plan on voting on the law, just because people are going to keep showing up here, and I think it would be very helpful to have a timeline of what your plans are.
Yeah.
That would be clear.
Yeah.
I
Let us
mean,
know.
we thought we were gonna vote in October, but,
October, November, we hope to get in
One
December.
One
yeah,
year.
I mean, we were planning on last October to vote on it, but,
Spring.
I mean, it's something we can't really rush. I don't wanna take and rush on it. I wanna make sure I get time to read everything.
We'll just
and-
throw it out then. Then you don't have to worry about
Well,
it.
that's not bad.
It would be helpful to know, because your agendas are
You
not
always have
published.
that option.
There are many towns that publish their agendas in advance on the
Well,
website, so residents know exactly what's going to be, and they can come. Like, I know if something's of interest, I'm going to come to that board meeting. We keep coming, and we're going to keep coming.
Well, I'm
and
just
that's
dragging
the-
it on so everybody comes and visits us, so we're not used to the crowd.
They're lonely.
But anything that does happen, as far as wind goes, will be published on Facebook, the website, newspapers, postings in the town hall, postings at the post office. Nothing's gonna be done underneath your eyes.
I'm
without you
asking
seeing it.
because Freedom passed their law without telling 2 of their own legislators to be there. So
Yeah, well,
there's precedence for this, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I'd definitely be out posted. And we overpost it. We put it in every available place we can, as you probably do know.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I overposed.
Sorry.
She's there somewhere.
I'm on.
You're on that now? Okay.
There's been conflicting stories. How many of you people are related to people who have a lease?
If you give us a few minutes, we'll get right to that. Thank you.
Yeah.
We done?
Deal with it now.
I do have a question. Now that we've all, you know where each one of us stand individually, are we
Well,
going to have a,
there's a question on the floor, though.
I said we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got something for you. We can go to that now.
Okay.
But are we going to keep open? Rob, are we going to keep the public comment
No,
here
we need to
open,
shut it
or we're going
down.
to shut it down?
I had a question for us.
Okay.
Are we going to schedule a work session to get together and try to hash something out, or?
You think you can do it in a group, or you think you're better off doing it 2 by 2? And I think you get more done. The 4 in a room makes it very, very difficult. Again, to be able to get everybody's ideas down. That's what. And again, some of it's weather related, some of it's time of year. But I mean, to me, it seems like, you know, if we get together, you know, that we can sustain ourselves. I don't know if that's what you want, but I mean, that would be my thought.
You should do it in view of.
Again, it's very helpful for me to listen to 35 people talking and try to describe that and understand it. Bottom line, I need to channel your efforts to direct me, saying, go do this, do that. You know, I try to make notes, but again, when people talk over each other, that's why it's good for 2, you know, trying to get something consistent and that is cognizant and then responds to their questions. That's my only thought. But if you guys want to do a 4 with everybody looking, the problem is, again, as you see the group tonight, you get that 4 and you try to, you know, I think at the end of the day, but look, if it's substantially different, we're having another public hearing. If we can reach an agreement that's not substantially different,
Right.
you know, and we can get 4 votes, because again, if we can get through the rest of tonight, I'll explain where we are about that too.
As per your question, he's gonna get to that, and we're gonna shut the public comment down for now, and move on, just so we can get done here. Donna, you were taken care of, you don't need to speak at the end, or you still need to speak
It's
again?
just about shared services.
Okay, okay.
It doesn't need to be now, okay?
Okay. Okay, Dave, if you wanna get to that.
Okay, you want to talk about wind first?
Yes.
Okay.
That'll be under old business.
Let's talk first about the response from the County Planning Board from their January 31st meeting. We got a disapproval, that meaning that in order, if you were going to approve the law as it currently exists, or even if you want to make some small changes to the law, you want to make some modifications to the law, you would need 4 votes to approve that. If you're going to make a wholesale changes in the law, okay, and basically have a new law that you're going to present, that would trigger another public hearing. So I think we have to, you know, as we work through it and come up with what it is we want, we'll have to make the determination, is this just a reflection of what we got, or is this a wholesale new law? it's a wholesale new law, we'll have another public hearing.
Right.
Okay? If it's not a wholesale new law, and it's just a tiny modification, then it becomes, do we have 4 votes? Because maybe if we're 3-1, 2-2, we haven't got a law. We won't be able to get over this. Okay? So that's where we are on that. Anybody have any questions? I think everybody got a copy of the law by now, or the letter. Okay. And again, as our county legislator pointed out, the reasons for the disapproval were the increase in height is inconsistent with the goals and objectives of the county's 26 comprehensive plan. Specifically, goal number 1, Cattaraugus County will retain its vital rural character. Also, the proposed height of these turbines conflicts with the following 2 objectives. 1, to protect the natural beauty that makes Cattaraugus County the land of the Enchanted Mountains. And 2, it recognized the importance of communities, farmland, forested land, scenic vistas, and other elements of country life that contribute to the county's rural character. So that's the justifications they gave. Any questions on that?
Now, we already had a freedoms law. Did they pass freedoms law, or?
My understanding is there was no disapproval of freedoms law.
They're disapproving ours, and ours is more restrictive.
From
Correct.
what I understand, Freedom sent their law in, the planning board sent it back, mistakenly approving it, contacted Freedom, said send it back, Freedom sent it to the state without the planning board, without the county planning board.
Freedom's being sued.
As you were, did.
Okay. Then, we okay on that issue?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, at least we know, in order to do anything, either we're having another public hearing, or we have to have a 4-board majority, okay? Super majority is what they call it. Take one and pass it on.
I'll do that.
There's another one here,
Yeah,
I apologize. This isn't anything I'm asking you to adopt, okay? But it is what the New York State Code of Conduct for wind developers are in New York State, and the Invenergy is a signator of it. Basically, they're to disclose when projects are available or going forward, of the potential conflicts of elected officials. In our case, their list does indicate the potential conflicts that exist on this board. Again, Mr. Westfall, number 1 on the list, he has a wind lease, and he's a councilman. Our town clerk her family has a wind lease, okay? The deputy town clerk, I believe she does have a wind lease.
No, she does not.
Is married to?
Is married to, but
Okay.
she does
Okay.
not own that property.
Okay, so again, Bridget is the daughter of Dean Holmes, who has a lease. Susan Holmes is married to Dean Holmes, but she doesn't own that property.
They're not voting.
Huh?
And they're not voting.
Correct, they're non-voting. Robert Karcher, he's the son-in-law of Dean Holmes. Okay. Then we go through some in Centerville, in Arcade. There's one more. And then Mr. Zink, who's told us all along, his parents in the town of Freedom have easements and a wind lease, which we've known since the beginning. I don't think there's anything here hasn't been disclosed. When I came here, I knew of this, and I don't know anything. So again, I'm pure to this area. So that was a filing we got on Valentine's Day. I wanted to make it available to everybody. I don't have any more on wind. If you have questions or a desire, I mean, I'll do whatever you wish. I mean, and whatever makes, I just find this setting, or even a setting of 4 of you talking, and what happens when we get more than 2 or 3 people together, the conversations between you start going, and I can't officiate that or understand what's going on, you know what I mean? And I really do value everything everybody says, but I need to be able to hear it, just to understand where we're going. But again, I'll do whatever.
Well, if you're done with the wind, then we could move on to the defense.
Yeah.
Yes, our town supervisor doesn't seem to understand that our town law, if they pass a reasonable law, the Article 10 process does have to follow the recommendation from the town. Now, if you go ahead and say something like, we're not going to allow anything in, well then that they can throw out. But if you pass a reasonable law that allows them at a certain height limit, like we requested, 450 feet, 3,000 foot setbacks, 40 decibels at the property lines, these are all reasonable things. Communities all over the state and the country have these. So there's no reason why we shouldn't have that. They are used elsewhere. There's lots of other towns and communities that are looking at these. Some are a lot more restrictive than that. And I believe there's a town up in Watertown, Richland, that has much more restrictive. I mean, I believe I saw an article about Kansas. They're looking at miles of setback. So what we're asking for is very reasonable. We base it on informative of our legal staff, experts that have come forward and submitted letters in the Article 10 process. We have noise experts, we have seismologists, we have environmental experts, and this is based on their recommendations. It's not from me, it's from experts. And New York State came back giving Invenergy 21 pages of deficiencies that are quite revealing and stunning.